Hello and welcome back everybody, or welcome for the first time if you're just checking out this video in your notification feed or something like that. However, I'm breaking down the entirety of all the changes in Paladins patch 2.01. However, pretty much every champion had changed, so it took 2 videos of analysis to really go over. The first video will be linked now in the cards or in the description, but if you want to check out that, then go back. And these champions will go from Koga to Zin in order of alphabeticalness, but also there'll be a list down below. If you are looking for a specific champion, it will be in this video. Anyway, let's just jump into part 2 and the rest of the champions. Koga has had some talent rework, so Master of Arms has been removed. This is the card that gave you the ammo back once hitting people with your weapon. And they've tried to make Dragon Fangs better, the Dragon Stance. So Dragon Fangs health consumption per second has been reduced from 200 to 150. This is a talent card where your Dragon Fangs don't actually take up any energy. So Blood Reaper has also had a rework. This was a skewer card before, but now this talent card is becoming something about your ultimate, Cyclone Strike, which will charge 15% faster and now deal up to 100% of the target's health as damage over its duration. So it's a percentage damage versus its current just lowish damage. So actually you could be a tank killer on the points with this card and pretty much wreck anybody during its duration, which is interesting, I guess. I don't know whether it will actually be picked up though, just because you won't have your ultimate all the time, even with that 15% faster. Koga was actually a relatively slow charging ultimate champion. Also, he's had some nerfs in some ways, so submachine guns ammo capacity reduced from 70 to 60, and they've buffed up more of the Dragon Stance with time in and out of the Dragon Stance reduced by 15% base, and also increasing the damage of the Hellkite Claws by from 600 to 650. Also, the projectile speed increased by 10%, plus finally the skewer, the one where you use up all of your energy to do like a slash, will go from 600 damage to 700 damage. Generally, it's interesting, they're trying to push you to use both of the stances on the Koga here. And actually the Dragon Fang stance here, and even the legendary card, might be usable with the lifesteal, and especially seeing as Cauterize is going out of people's loadouts. So a lot of the card effects that were taken out and have been changed. So Surprise actually has a change, sorry, this is one of the cards that's taken out, but the ammo regeneration is reduced from 8 to 6 at each level. This is the one where Shadow Stepping gave you ammo back, so in line with the ammo in your main fire, you'll get less back. I just don't know about this one. I think maybe this is more of a balance for the console where people are struggling to deal with the hit scan and the auto aim, whereas the Dragon Claws, the Hellkite Claws, aren't going to be such an issue. Guild Tactics, so hits with a skewer restore 160 health at each level. I don't know if skewer's not used that often just because it takes up all of your energy, so I'm not sure about that one. Memento, kills grant 2% ultimate charge. That's interesting. A lot of champions are actually getting this in ultimate charge one, so you could actually combo that with Blood Reaper. You could be ulting all the time, to be fair. And Unyielding, so now reduces the energy consumption by 6% whilst in Dragon Stance, so you could actually lower those Hellkite Claws. So it's kind of interesting. Not sure how that's going to shake up Koga. Maybe it'll be better on the PC version, but slightly worse over on console. We'll see. Next up, Lex. So the talent card, the Law 1, is gone. This is the Retribution target 5% damage buff is out of there. Also, the Law, his ultimate, no longer stuns enemies, but will destroy and go through shields. That's actually kind of a buff to his ultimate. A lot of the times, enemy champions would just put their shields up and completely counter it, a bit like the Leon ultimate. So I think it's a little buff, well, not a little buff, but quite a reasonable buff to the ultimate for the Lex. Retribution also now selects targets globally, which I think just means that sometimes they would have been picked if they were out of range. Next up is Leon. Finally, Death and Taxes is no more. That's out of the game. Also, Precision, hitting consecutive shots and abilities increases your heirloom rifle damage against those targets by 2% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 16%. So they also got rid of Precision. The old version gave you your ammo back and gave you more damage, which I think is quite upsetting. That was probably the best legendary card there was and quite fun. But the new one, hitting consecutive shots and abilities increases your heirloom rifle damage against targets by 2% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 16%. However, this is also rather good, but makes Leon's damage just straight up a little bit more bursty, but I guess it's a bit more progressively bursty. and probably overall less damage than Precision gave before. Relatively useful, especially against tanks. You're going to be getting quite a lot of damage off of them eventually. So there's a few cards for Lian taken out that affected crowd control and reveal. So Shining Topaz, now enemies hit by Valor reduces the cooldown of Presence by 0.5 seconds at each level. And in reaction to that, Eagle's Emerald has been nerfed. This is used to give cooldown to Valor. And also because they've changed Royal Seal, enemies hit by Presence reduce Valor's cooldown by 0.6 seconds. And Eagle's Emerald has become something also completely new, where ammo gets regenerated on hits by 1 at every level. This is interesting because this does kind of make Precision, the legendary card, the same as it used to be. As long as you hit enemies, you're going to be getting your ammo back, you're going to be getting more damage, so there's going to be a combo there. Plus, the new card's Superiority also has a new effect, increasing your ammo 1 at each level. So I could see Superiority, Eagle's Emerald, and then Precision, and you're going to be, jobs are good and won't ever have to reload, and you'll be having that crazy damage. Maybe she'll even be better than she was before. Maeve has also had a great buff, and this is taking the heal off of Artful Dodger and putting it back into default. Maeve used to have the heal in default, and now again 9 lives will give a heal for 400 on activation. Cat Burglar is now the default talent, which is actually pretty good to be honest. And in casuals, when there's usually just one tank, it's probably the best card. And Street Justice will be unlocked at Mastery Champion level 8. All good, I think. Maybe we might even see more Maeve gameplay, especially with other champions dipping out a little bit with a lot of their Cauterized cards gone. Next up is Makua. Davy Jones' locker is removed. Great, this is just a silly spinning one all the time. Yeah, I've never really had any great impact in any games. Next up, the cards Determination. So while below 50% healing, receive 5% increased healing from other players. So this is a card that used to be the crowd control reduction. This could actually knock on the Makua a little bit. The crowd control was actually quite strong, although you still have the crowd control immunity in your ultimate. Meldamba's talent that's being removed is Ripen Gourd. This is the one that gave you a 50% chance to get it back, which was kind of random. Didn't make too much sense. It wasn't terrible, but it was just a bit random. Also, some of his cards, the new cards, Pungent Gourd, now heals for 75 health at each level when activating the Gourd. And Venomous Gourd, you and your allies gain 6% lifesteal while standing in the Gourd, rather than I think the reveal before. Which is actually an interesting effect, as it will just give more healing to the Gourd just through something that's kind of not direct. Although I'm not sure whether 30% lifesteal is really worth it for the time that you're going to have your Gourd up. Although I don't think this necessarily ruins Meldamba in any way. He's still going to be one of the stronger healers this patch. Moji's talent card, Yummy, was removed, and the card's Will-O-Wisp kills grant 8% movement speed at each level for 2 seconds. So up to 40% movement speed extra if you get kills. Yeah, I don't know about this one. I think they're probably just not leaving Moji. They're probably not doing a lot with Moji at the moment because they're thinking about turning her into a healer. Pip's talents, this was interesting. Mischief has been removed. This is one where you could reset your abilities, which was quite fun, but maybe not the most effective. I don't know about that one being removed. It was quite fun to play around with, actually. Next up, Ruckus the Overdrive has been removed. This is a card where you did extra damage based on your missing health. It was kind of not really picked up either. Also, cards at the ready has a new effect. Successful hits with rocket launcher restores 5 ammunition at each level. I don't know about that one. It's not really a lot of ammo to give you back, so Next up is a buff. So Ceres is going to have their restore heal, having a heal on allies within 50 feet of your target for 30% of the healing value at base. And this is at the expense of Void Abides being removed. This did 50% of the healing at the same range. However, I think paired with either a Battle Ceres or the main healing Ceres with Mortal Reach, this is going to be a buffed out Ceres and should perhaps be back in the meta. Also, another card for the Battle Ceres Darksight, activating Ren Soul restores 1 ammunition at each level, so it could work out there. Next up is Charlene, and talent card going is Shifting Sands. This is one that reset your planted, but was very, very meh. There were some funny times with it, but it wasn't really the one that you picked up. So on the cards, in the devs patch notes, it says that, so Quicksand has been changed from 6% at each level, reducing the cooldown of Impaler Arrow, to 0.6 off of every part of the cooldown, so you can get up to 3 seconds off of the Impaler Arrow, which actually I think is higher than the 6% on Quicksand, so could actually help out the explosive shot one with the Impaler Arrow. Poise also has an interesting effect. Before, this was a crowd control reduction card, Now it reduces the movement speed penalty whilst drawing your longbow by 20%. So you could actually get rid of your movement speed penalty by 100%, which actually with recurve could be rather crazy because you'll be really fast and be able to pull your bow quickly too. I'm going to be trying this one out. I think it'll be fun. I played a lot of Shaolin. I don't know if you've been watching my streams, but I've been playing a lot of Shaolin on there. I'm being very successful with it. Not actually having FPS drops. Maybe it's just the outlaw skin. Who knows? Also, Skewer used to reveal enemies, but now successful hits with the Impaler arrow reduce the cooldown of Planted by 1 second each level. Which is interesting because it kind of could reset your Planted if you're going for the stun to Planted combo, but I don't know about that card so much. Skye is actually having quite a bit of a rework, and this is with a smoke screen. So it no longer interferes with the enemy line of sight. This is where you can look through the smoke and it looks invisible past it, but actually there are loads of players there. That's gone. So the visual effects of the smoke screen has also been reduced, but it will grant stealth every 0.5 seconds while Skye is within the deployable, so you can keep going in and out of the stealth, which is rather interesting. And it'll also refresh the benefits of healing vapors and dissipate every 0.5 seconds the cards. The surprise attack card, the card where it gave you extra damage after you came out of your stealth, is removed, probably because of these quick invisibilities, because that'd be crazy with the extra damage. Also, Smoke and Dagger, this is the card that used to do damage to enemies when you threw it. Now instead, heals allies inside it for 400 health every 1 second. Now, this lasts for 5 seconds, so could give allies 2000 health, and could even be increased by Spectre. So Skye healing meta could actually be a thing. Well, still probably not. It's going to be a bit like the Grok Totem. You don't really want to stand in there because you probably get blasted apart, but it is an interesting option. And it could even be used for you to sort of heal out of combat. And you're invisible, so more about yourself healing and dodging abilities. So to compensate for that, Healing Vapors, which did do 100 health every 4 seconds, has now been taken down to 2 seconds, which could even heal you even more. Dissipate has been nerfed from 3 seconds extra speed to 2 seconds because you can go in and out of the smoke, which I think is kind of unfortunate because I think it's kind of unfortunate because it kind of limits you to just the smoke. But there we go. Plus, it's been reduced from 10% speed at each level to 7% speed. I'm not sure whether this is a good idea. Skye kind of needed that movement. Also, Decrepify, hitting your poison bolts causes you not to consume ammo for 0.6 seconds at each level, which is actually rather interesting because this could be the damage throughput the Skye needs, even without their poison bolts legendary card. It's an interesting one. Twilight Armor used to give you the crowd control, but now increases your ammo count by 2 at each level, also maybe giving you a bit more of that damage per second. Quick Smoker has been nerfed, so your smoke cooldown reduction is no longer 1 second at each level. It's gone down to 0.6 seconds at each level, so up to 3 seconds reduction rather than 5 seconds, which is actually quite a big nerf. Prospectus duration has been reduced from 1 second each level to 0.6, so you can only have 8 seconds on your smoke on total if you have the buff rather than 10, which actually would be rather crazy with the heals because you get up to like 4,000 health, so that could be crazy on the new smoke screen. It'll be interesting to see whether Skye's good or not, but I'm a bit skeptical. Moving on to Strix, one of the more annoying champions in the realm. So Ambush is removed. That's the card that gave you the extra damage in the stealth shots. One of the big things is the talent card, unauthorized use, no longer reveals enemies, but the projectile speed is increased from 100 to 250. So it's easier to hit, but also doesn't reveal enemies. So it's having a huge downside to the unauthorized use Strix. It gives you more potential to do damage between your flare and your actual rifle, but you won't be able to see any enemies. I think it's a good move indeed. So the other cards might get some use. Also, Overburn has been nerfed, so the flares reveal now only last 0.6 seconds longer at each level rather than 1 second at each level. Still, the Strix reveals are going to be relatively annoying, but there we go. Talus has had some changes, so Raging Demon is removed. This is the one that gave you the duration of overcharge. Also, Inner Strength's damage reduction has been removed, which I think made it very strong, and was the reason why Talus is quite strong at the moment as well, because of their damage reduction, and also all of their abilities resetting once you teleported. There are some card changes, so Antediluvian was also something that made Talus rather strong. This is the one that gave the Cauterize. Instead now gives the duration of overcharge extra 0.2 seconds at each level. So up to an extra second overcharge is actually quite interesting because you can have some quite big throughput there with the big damage ability. Also, Dark Vision used to reveal enemies with the Blitz Upper, but instead gives 5% ultimate charge at each level if you get a kill with Blitz Upper. Getting a kill is relatively hard with that ability though, so I'm not sure how big of a deal that is, but there we go, another ult card. I don't really know what's going on here with Terminus. So Power Siphon now has a 3-second cooldown. This is your shield. Yes. It is one of the more powerful defensive abilities in the game, and I'd say if Terminus was completely fixed and not as buggy, he'd probably be one of the top tanks in the game. And he does perform very well, but 3-second cooldown of Power Siphon? Really? Okay. Seething Rage has also been removed. This is the one that gave you faster axe swings when you didn't have any charges of Calamity Blast, so nothing on your Power Siphon, but just a bit of a random card, so kind of gone. Some card changes though. Abomination was a cauterized one, so now successful hits with Calamity Blast grants 2% Power Siphon energy at each level, so up to 10%. It Follows was a anti-crowd control card, which gives you now 1% movement speed per Calamity charge. That's actually rather interesting. It Watches used to reveal people, but now hitting your enemies with your Master Axe generates 2% of your Power Siphon energy. And finally, Forsaken, which was another crowd control card. Hitting enemies with your Master Axe generates 10% of a Calamity charge, which I guess is kind of interesting because you can then charge up some of your shots. I think here they're trying to give you a way to get your Power Siphon back quicker with these cards, but that 3-second cooldown's big. That could really kill off the Terminus, I'm not gonna lie. Torvald's Alternating Current is removed. This is the card that made his recharge go on for 1.5 seconds longer. I think this is a bit of a hangover from when he had a huge shield. But he doesn't have a huge self shield anymore, so probably worth getting rid of that. So one of the cards with CC is gone, Rune Torrent. Instead now, every second challenging Lullify generates 2 ammo for you, okay. Also, Glyph of the Fist. Before gave you reload speed, but now gives you an increased ammo count of 1 at each level. Probably a bit better, to be honest. Glyph of Freedom was a crowd control reduction one, but now eliminations reduce all active cooldowns by 8%. This is actually really interesting because Torvald can get involved and get eliminations, so this could be a card to pick up to get your shields off and stuff more often. Next up, Tyra has had some changes. So her First Blood, her lifesteal card is gone. However, it is partly put into her main build, so her main fire now gives 15% lifesteal. It's actually today, or yesterday depending on your time zone, is Tyra's birthday, the 20th of December. That's when she was released. Just a little fun fact for everybody. Mercy Kill has been changed too. It's an interesting one, so now it has 3 charges rather than doing the extra damage of a champion's maximum health. This could actually be rather useful, giving some sort of sustained blast damage to the Tyra, but I think I need to play around with this one to see how it really works out. So some of the cards that have gone, so one of the old anti-healing was Napalm, but now instead activating Firebomb restores 4 ammo at each level. I don't know about that one. Trailblazer 2 was a crowd control card, but now kills grant 5 ammo at each level. Still hard to reconcile that. You'd have to keep getting kills with each of your clips really to make this one worth it. We'll see though, we'll see. Next up is Victor. Firefight has been removed. This is the one that gives 30% bonus damage whilst hip firing. I think this was a bit of a scourge on console, although you didn't really see it so much on PC, whereas the Shrapnel was sort of getting the bigger play. So the burst had a bit of a change, so the time between shots is decreased, but the time between bursts is slightly increased. I don't know how much of a big of change this is going to have, but we'll just have to see. It might mean that the actual bursts are a bit more accurate, but slower, though we'll just have to see on that one. Also, the card Predator gave you a reveal on Victor, which made him rather good actually, so maybe this will be slightly nerfing Victor. However, he can get up to 40% at max level, 8% at each level, lifesteal whilst he is in iron sights, which I actually think is rather interesting, as 40% is pretty sizable, so a lifesteal Victor may even be an option. Vivian has had her Sapper rounds changed, also hallelujah, this is the one that did 150% increased damage to shields at record 3 from level 1. Also, Runic Ammunition used to give you heals when you were damaging shields, but now just flatly heals you 5% at each level lifesteal, so up to 25%, which is also relatively decent on the sustained damage of the Vivian. An interesting one, probably not an actual pickup, but we'll see. Next up is Willow Scorched Earth is removed. This is one that was a bit random, where shields took 50% of maximum health per second whilst in the dead zone, which was a bit random, but that's gone. The cards that have changed though are Pixie Dust, which used to heal you whilst you're in dead zone, but now has been increased from 25 health at each level to 50 health at each level, plus Nectar, which heals you after activating Ceiling, has gone from 50 to 75 at each level. I'm still not really convinced of either of those, but maybe they'd be a pickup. Ying has had her talent card Lifelike removed. This is the one where you could have illusion targeting 2 allies, but it did 20% less healing. This used to be rather good when it was 100% healing, but hasn't really seen the pickups recently. I think with the Cauterize going in kits, maybe the Lifelike might have seen a bit of resurgence, but it's out of there. Also, the main heal for the Ying on the Life Exchange is being nerfed. So the card Brittle used to reduce the cooldown of Shatter by 0.7 seconds at each level. Now that's down to 0.5. So you're only going to be able to reduce the heal of Shatter every 2.5 seconds, which could have quite a big effect on the Ying, to be honest. Maybe even making Meldamba the king of the healers. Maybe even pushing Sarah's up a little bit. Xin has also had some changes. So Counter no longer deals a melee strike upon receiving a hit while active. It now fires a normal weapon projectile at a player's crosshair location upon receiving a hit. So it doesn't matter where the projectiles come from, where you're looking, it will fire it off. And the damage has gone from 560 to 600. Plus their ultimate Spite has had its range slightly increased. So some of the cards have been changed, so Master Stance will reduce the cooldown of Whirl by 1 second each level whenever you counter an attack. So it could be kind of a reset there. Also, Viciousness used to give you ammo back when you countered. Now, because there's no retaliation, it's gone up to 2. Oh yeah, I've just spoiled it. The retaliation card is being removed. This is a card where you could keep on countering indefinitely, pretty much, until the cooldown ran out. But that doesn't really make sense anymore, although it could have been fun to do that with projectiles, to be honest, a bit more like the Genji style. But that's not actually going to come out into the realm. Plus, Perfect Block has gone from 50 health at each level to 100 health at each level, so up to 500 health healing once you counter. Still, I don't know about that card, but before you used to be able to keep countering with the resilience, the retaliation build, and then heal that way. Anyway, that is pretty much all of the champion changes in the realm. Apart from Terminus, who I think is being nerfed a bit unfairly with the power siphon, I think every other change here is pretty good. I think it'll be a complete shake-up of the game, but we might see champions not played before, and some more interesting champions, and even maybe seeing Charlene back again. And a few champions that people may want to see. Be sure to let me know all of your thoughts on the patch in the comment section below, but I'm relatively positive for Paladins going forward into 2019. I'm very much looking forward to playing the public test server as soon as it goes live. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe for all my content, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you all very much for watching. Joshino.